Hey y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and today I'm in what is known as, they call it Lookout Valley now, but it used to be called Tiftonia. And if you lived in the area for a number of years, that's what you know this town as. It was Tiftonia, Tennessee forever. And then apparently to improve tourism or something, they changed the name to Lookout Valley for some reason. But yeah, I'm in Tiftonia. So we're going to review a lens. The lens in question is a 28mm f3.5, just like my Asahi optical that is at home. But this one is an FL, which is the breech lock mount Canon lens. So you unlock the breech and you can see the bayonet's actually on the mount or on the camera, and it has a compression ring that pulls it into it. I've had this lens for a long time now, probably almost a year. The lens had real bad dry grease issues. You couldn't turn the focus ring. Like, to do this was almost impossible. It took all of the force you could muster to rotate the focus ring. I sent it to Zach's camera repair and he cleaned it, lubed it, and aligned it and put it back together and sent it back to me. It looks like a new lens now. Man, it's beautiful. It's got dust on the element. There we go. Put it on the SL2 and just walk around Tiftonia and do some photos with this 28 just to see what kind of a look you can get with this 28mm. I do have a Photocy that's called an FD to Leica L mount adapter that I've got it coupled with, and it adds the breaching distance from the camera, so it makes it a little longer than what it would be on the native camera body. This area is steeped in history, especially more what I'd consider more recent history. Of course, there's Indian settlements everywhere around here. They found one building a huge subdivision just on the other side, over at the foot of the mountain in the distance. The recent, or the more recent history would be mostly with the Civil War and Brown's Ferry. Of course, they have a couple of historic markers. I grabbed a photo of each of those. The Civil War battle passed literally right through here, and the battle above the clouds happened right there on Lookout Mountain, and the Union forces came right through here and went up the mountain and assaulted it on those cliffs, literally in the video photo right now. And by the time they assaulted the Confederate army, knowing that they were outgunned and out, you know, they had them beat by manpower and everything, fled the mountain and had went down into the valley on the other side and had reset on Missionary Ridge. So when they got on top of the mountain, all they found was burning campfires and empty campsites. They were already gone. It was really interesting to read about that. But yeah, this is a pretty historically significant area. This store has been here forever. They actually used to be on that lot and they moved into this building. I'm pretty sure it was that lot had the old Odell's building on it, and they tore it down and built the Zaxby's. Let's get a photo. The photo walk was kind of a bust because it was super cold and I really wasn't interested in staying out in the freezing cold temperatures. But what I wanted to do was compare it and talk to you about what I did photograph with it and the image quality and things like that. Now, understand that it's exact same specs, for lack of a better term. Let me take it off this camera here. This is the Pentax 28mm f3.5 versus the Canon 28mm f3.5, and this is a breech lock lens compared to an M42 mount. This one has a cover glass from the factory over the front lens element, toward this one does not. But from the flange distance, the Canon lens is just ever so slightly shorter. It's almost insignificant, maybe 2 millimeters. You know, it's small, very little difference. It's a lot heavier, even though they're both metal lenses. I'm pretty sure they're both made of brass, but this one's bigger physically than the Pentax. If we pull them off the mounts, as you can see, the M42 lens just screws off. That's the whole M42. And if we break loose the breech lock, they're pretty close to the same size mechanically, but the Canon lens is physically bigger. Now I'm gonna put them back on the mounts because it's easier to handle them.
One eternity later.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I prefer the Pentax lens over the Canon, even though they both produce really wonderful photos, mainly because of the ergonomics. For the Canon, you have an aperture ring, and it's these two little thin rings of knurled sections of the ring. That's the whole aperture ring. You just got to find those two little sections on the very front of the lens. To where on the Pentax, the aperture ring is in the more traditional position, and it's a much larger area. It goes all the way around the lens, in fact, and you can find it real easy without having to hunt it. You just kind of know it's up next to the camera body, and you can just get your hand on it real easy. They both have very clean, distinct aperture clicks. So yeah, this one's, as far as that goes, the build quality is excellent. But to me, it has shortcomings. The focus ring, I constantly confuse it for this knurled section here, which I think, yes, the auto manual aperture control ring. And I'm constantly grabbing that ring instead of this knurled focus ring. And I guess with time you would get used to where it goes. I'll probably run this lens for a while just to see if I can familiarize myself with it. But Pentax got it right in that the focus ring is a big wide section at the front of the lens. You know, in your hand, when the camera sits in your hand, your fingers naturally land on that big focus ring, and it's just easy to manipulate. I did send this one to the camera shop and have it cleaned and serviced. So they dismantled the lens, cleaned all of the old grease out of it, and re-lubed it with fresh grease, so now that you can actually focus it. Before, the focus on it was so stiff you just about couldn't turn it. But from what I can see from the photos I took with it, the photos look great. It's got the usual artifacts that comes with a lens from this period, but it gives it character. And you're not buying these lenses because of their laser precision, accuracy, and all the renderings. You buy them because you get a look from these kind of lenses that you can't get from modern glass. And that's the beauty of using these lenses, really. Otherwise, you could just buy the new lens that comes with your camera. It's time for the cuckoo clock. But you could just buy the lens that is made for your camera new, and you would get pretty much perfect reproduction. So, you know, and now the phone's ringing. Wow. Oh, now it's got to play a song. But this lens is a wonderful little lens. If you have some of these old Breech Lock lenses, you can get the adapter for your modern mirrorless camera pretty easily, and I would recommend you play with it. This is the second Breech Lock lens I've bought, and they both work really well. And like I said, the build quality is phenomenal. But it's heavier than the Pentax, and the Pentax has more natural ergonomics. So honestly, I'll probably just stick to the Pentax. Like I said, I'll shoot with this one for a while just to kind of get a good feel for it, you know, and don't discredit it right away. But it does kind of have the pancake lens kind of ergonomics. The focus ring is real narrow. The aperture ring is just is Leica-ish in that it's just two little sections to grab, you know, the usual stuff. But all in all, like I said, if you can get your hands on one of these pretty cheap, it's a great lens. With that, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and I appreciate you watching. And until next time, get your camera out. Go put a lens on it, no matter how old it is. And go take some pictures with it, all right? We'll see you later. Bye-bye.